in Shidduchim, when people go on Shidduchim, many times you hear the request or so on. The people say, "I'm looking for somebody spiritual." Why? Because I'm a spiritual person. Or I'm looking for somebody a little bit more mystical, and so on and so forth. So my question to you is, it's very nice that you ask, at least you know you're asking for somebody who is spiritual and mystical and so on. And that's okay. But what is exactly spiritual? For example, if you tell me I want a person who learns, I want a person who works, I want an athletic person, he's or she is, fit, and so on and so forth. Well, you know exactly what it is. What does it mean, spiritual? People use it very often, and I'll tell you the truth, I have no idea what in the world is saying. If that is an indication that the person was not spiritual enough to deny a person, I don't think you know what you're saying, and therefore you're just rejecting a person for basically no reason. What is it being spiritual? So many people here, so I ask them, what does exactly spiritual means? I will tell you, I'm very much into Chabad, I read Tanya, or I read Rav Nachman books, and so on and so forth. That makes you spiritual? If I, for example, read Mesilat Yesharim, or I read the Rambam, and I'm deliberately using those examples, I'm not spiritual? I have to be Hasidic to become spiritual? Or do I have to smoke ganja to become spiritual? Maybe I should drum a little bit, do a drum circle, and pass down the hookah, and maybe that will be spiritual. What's spirituality? What's spirituality, Yeshua? Everybody uses it. Anybody knows here, guys, what's spirituality? Michael, want to try? No, speak out.
Your ability to feel things and sensitivity.
Your ability to feel things and sensibility. So therefore, if I'm going to put my hand on someone and I'm feeling him, so therefore I'm spiritual at that moment. That's not spiritual. That's a sensitive person. That's if I'm an FBI or CIA interrogator and I'm able to be sensitive, that makes me spiritual.
I think God-fearing.
Huh?
God-fearing.
God-fearing, I'm a God-fearing person, but I'm not spiritual. You're the closest, but what does exactly mean spiritual? So guys, thank God, Baruch Hashem, we have Wikipedia. Wikipedia. So let's look at what Wikipedia says about being spiritual, and I'm going to show you how most of us are not spiritual. According to Wikipedia, Rabbi Wikipedia says traditionally spirituality, and I'm not going to read the whole thing, refers to a religious process of reformation which, quote unquote, aims to recover the original shape of man. So if I'm reading Tanya, argument's sake, just for argument's sake, that deals how God interacts with the world, and I'm looking to become spiritual by reading that, most likely I'm going to not achieve my goal. Because if the whole aspect of spirituality is to bring you back to the original shape of man, to get closer to God, that's not going to do it. Therefore I should read Mesilat Yesharim that deals with Chovat Adam be'olamo, your obligation in the world. And how does God want you to be? In other words, and I'm not saying this is better than that, I'm just giving you an example. If I'm reading Rav Breslev book, Ivdu et Hashem besimcha, so if I'm a very happy person, that makes me spiritual. I'm a happy guy. I like to crack jokes with you. I have a beer with this guy. Ivdu et Hashem besimcha, it's all good. Let's, every red light, we'll go to the streets, we're going to spin around. Again, don't forget the little single over there, the little joint. Everything's good. Hankaderi, Pichiki, life is good. My we Rastafarians. That's not spirituality. Spirituality is a part of reshaping yourself from the materialistic being that you are, transforming yourself and aligning yourself more with the will of God. In a way, it's dismantling the materialistic and urges that you want to have. So therefore, if you want a argument, saying, let's say we're talking about a girl, right? If she claims to be a spiritual woman who wants she wants a big house, a big car, and so on and so forth, I'm sorry, you're not spiritual. So if you don't know what spirituality is, so if you look at the people do ask for, I want to become more spiritual, and they use this term. What does it really mean? And I'm going to tell you this very, very simple. It's looking for meaning. True spirituality will give you, first of all, meaning in your life. When you live life with no meaning, you cannot be spiritual. If you have meaning in your life, you can gain spirituality. Because if I'm going to ask you, give me a group of people who all agree are spiritual. 5 minutes, okay, if you don't mind. 5 minutes? Okay? So you're going to tell me, for example, Native Americans, right? They're spiritual people. Really, I don't think that Geronimo, which was a medicine man, I don't think that White Horse or Crazy Horse or Red Bull thought, I'm a spiritual person. How does that what's spiritual? Why do Native Americans, for example, to us seem spiritual? Because everything they did had meaning. Because it was a survival thing. Everything was accounted for. So spirituality is not whether I'm reading this book or reading that book. Spirituality could be, first of all, determined by few elements. A, your ability to be mevatel yourself, canceling yourself to the will of God, which that's what you should be doing in tefillah, in davening. Right? When you come into HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you should be mevatel yourself. You're not coming to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, hey God, what's up? I had a good day today. Listen, I need a little. You don't do that. You come completely dismantling yourself in front of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, becoming less materialistic. Being less materialistic is another step in becoming spiritual, living spiritual life. Having meaning is that, and ultimately changing yourself. If you could learn Torah all day long, and if the Torah inside of you did not allow the Torah to come and reshape you and change you, so therefore the Torah is very external for you. It's not internally transforming. So you cannot be a person who wants a big house, big this, the whole entire thing, go on vacation, and so on and so forth, and then cry there's no spirituality in Judaism. Spirituality does exist in Judaism because everything we do is supposed to transform yourself and to be able to conquer your will to the will of God. To shape, to direct, and so on and so on. So we don't, it's not us. So then will come some buffoons and say, you know what? Maybe Judaism should have a little bit more schnapps and the drink will be loose. Or maybe we should smoke like a nice bong before we go daven, it will be, more chilled out. Again, we are not Rastafarians, as you could see, right? We learn from what's his name, the Bnei Aaron, what we spoke today. Bnei Aaron, Nadav and Avihu, they came to the Kodesh, they were halumei yain, they drank wine. And you can't be in the presence of God in such proximity and be drunk because it will consume you. That's why a dayan cannot drink. That's why anybody who becomes spiritual, who wants to have God in his life and understand the meaning of things, cannot be drunk. You have to be clear-minded, Rabotai. So you got to be very careful with what you call spirituality. You got to be very careful with what you ask for, what you demand, and what you're blaming other people for not to be. Because most of the stuff we do is not spirituality. It's not spiritual, it's not spirituality. It's all superficial and external, including many of our weddings and so on and so forth. You're going to go to a funeral or wedding or anything like this in the South, it will be completely different. Only by us is external. We don't feel the pain of the mourner, and we don't feel the joy of the ones who celebrate. It's all chitzoni, it's all external. It's no spirit. There's no driving force to change and so on and so forth. So guys, it's not about books. It's not about reading books. It's not about being a chassid or not being a chassid. It's about looking for meaning in everything that you have, in understanding that this is not your world. You're here to do God's will in the world and understanding really what is important in life. Let's dive and have a great day.